Come and listen to me chat with Ellen Allard. She's going to show you how to pimp a kale salad while we talk about batch prepping for healthy eating and how she overcame chronic diseases with a whole food, plant-based, oil-free eating plan. She's an entertaining guest. You'll enjoy it.
I'm going to try my best.
So let's talk about what you're going to make for us and get started with that. And then later on, we can talk a bit more about your story and how you got to where you are today. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you going to make?
So I am going to make a kale salad, a raw kale salad. I have some kale right here. I am going to take the kale and I'm going to strip it because I'm not a huge fan of the stalks, although I'm told that they're actually very good for dogs. And I don't have a pet, so, but I'm going to just go like that and it leaves right? And I'm just going to throw that in the sink. And a little bit of Julia Child here. Just strip these. And I'm making a small batch of this because it's the only kale that I have left. However, I will tell you that I usually make enough to have at least 2 or 3 meals of this because I love it so much. Let me put that in the sink. And I am going to rinse it and spin it so that it's dry. You know what? My hands are wet, so I need to dry them. And this is a small one. I have a bigger one as well, but I actually find that this smaller one is my favorite one. I think it dries more thoroughly. So I'm going to do this and then a whole bunch of times. You can also do this in a towel, but I find this very helpful. I'm going to take it out. There's a little bit, not very much. So I know now that it's pretty dry. And then I'm going to dry the bottom here. I dry my cutting board. I also want to talk a little bit about how important it is to give yourself the gift of preparing your food. I think that we have been hoodwinked and brainwashed by the food industry, by the companies that make food that are convenience foods. We've been brainwashed into thinking that everything should be quick and fast. And I think there's something to be said for taking your time and just enjoying the process of preparing your food. It's such a gift that we have this food. So why not take your time? You know, I almost think of it as meditative. You know, take my time breathing through it. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to do the whole thing because I want to make sure that we get to the whole recipe. So I'm going to take the little bit that I didn't finish, put it aside. And now you can see I have a pretty decent amount here of chopped kale. And I'm now going to take this chopped kale. And because I'm kind of fussy about it being really, as you said, super dry, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do just to give it an extra little chance to get even drier. I'm going to take one of these dryer. I use these. They're little. I have a whole set of them, and I use them in place of paper towels. And I have bigger ones too. This is just sort of the size of a small washcloth. And I'm just going to put it down like this and just sort of give it an extra little squish and make sure that it's dry.
So why do you want it so dry? What's the point of that?
No, Chris, if I'm making double the amount and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator, I don't want it to get slimy. And I just find that when it's drier, it tends to last better.
Right. So that's really important.
So I'm going to take my kale now and I'm going to put this down again because I want you to see what I'm doing. Put it in the bowl. So far, easy, right? Easy peasy?
Yeah.
Not hard at all.
Even I can do this.
You can do this. And I'm just going to knock off the extra little pieces there. Okay. So now that was step 1. That's probably the most time consuming of all the steps of preparing this kale salad. So I'm going to take this. I'll put it right here so you can see it and tell you, I'm going to take some avocado. You don't have to use avocado, but I find that it's a wonderful way to massage the leaves, the kale leaves. You could use lemon juice if you wanted, but the avocado is a great source of healthy fats and it gives it such a nice, delicious taste. So I started this avocado. I keep the pit in it because it helps to keep it from getting yucky and brown. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to peel the skin of it. And then I'm going to take my avocado and I'm going to just cut it like with my hands. I don't mind getting my hands into it. You could use a knife or a fork, but eventually you're going to get your hands in it anyway. And I'm going to show you why. So now I have my pieces of avocado and I'm going to take them. My hands are nice and clean. I washed them. And I'm going to just start massaging and the goal is to really try to coat all the little pieces of kale, all the leaves. You want to coat them. You can rub them between your hands like this. And not only do you want to make sure that the kale is covering everything, but you want to also massage it because by massaging it, it actually helps to break down the leaves and they become much more manageable when you chew them. They're just softer, right? So you just do
I think
this.
for a lot of people, the idea of eating raw kale would just be like, oh, I don't want to
Right,
do it. But actually,
right.
this massage technique really changes it into
Yeah,
something that's very tender and easy to
right.
eat, isn't it?
Right, exactly. Now you can see I have it all over my hands. And if it weren't for the fact that I'm trying to do a very professional video, I would probably go and lick my fingers off. But I'm not gonna finish
Has
that
that
thing.
softened your hands? Because avocado oil
Yes,
is really good
I
for
did.
skin, isn't it?
Yep, yep, it definitely has. Okay, so far we have avocado. Now I'm gonna add some slivered almonds at the bottom of the bag. So there's quite a bit of sort of almond dust, the little pieces, but that's okay. So I'm going to take, one of the things that I also, when I teach people, I teach cooking classes. So I teach people to trust their gut, to trust their judgment. I don't have to measure. I just grabbed a smallish, it's probably about a tablespoon and a half. Now I'm going to put that right in here. And that's enough. And again, it's another source of good fats. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these. Now, these are organic, whole, sweetened cranberries. It's very hard to find cranberries that do not have sugar, dried cranberries that
Yeah.
do not have and do not have oil. I am 99 and 9/10% oil free. It is what helped me lose my last 10 pounds. It's what helps me not have indigestion. I'm a big fan of oil-free. However, I also love me some cranberries.
It's interesting because you said that going predominantly oil-free, 90%, I think you said, got rid of your indigestion and your last 10 pounds. So what made you do that? Did you read something or did you see something, a video or something?
That's part of my story, and and I'll get into it in a little bit. But basically, I just I went to bed every night with indigestion every night, and I'm a little person, but I had gained about 20 pounds. I gained it after I met the love of my life, and I started eating what he was eating, which is a pretty standard American diet, and having a cocktail every night. Oh, it's 6 a.m. I'm 6 p.m. Must be time for a cocktail. Well, I started drinking, which I never really did before. I was really into Moscow mules and gin and tonics and a little glass of Chardonnay. And before you knew it, I was up 20 pounds. So between the 20 pounds and the indigestion, I was not a happy camper. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut them. And again, I'm talking while I'm doing this, but if I weren't talking, this is probably about a 10-minute salad.
Yeah.
And then you have it. If you make 3 times the amount, you have it for 3 meals. We have company coming on Monday. We're having a little dinner gathering, and this is the salad I'm making because it's a hit. Everybody loves it. There's not one person that does not like it. I might even cut them smaller, but for now, this is my dried cranberries that have been rinsed and dried, and I'm putting them right in the salad. Now, look at how pretty that is already.
Yeah.
So far, easy peasy, pretty. I want to say that, by the way, you don't have to do slivered almonds. You could do walnuts, the nut of your choice. You don't have to do dried cranberries. You could do dried prunes. You could do dried apricots. You can change it up. You could mix them. You could do 2 dried fruits and you can go to town and have a ball, right? I'm just going to cut it. I like my onion to be really, really diced small. I'm going to take this now and put it into my bowl. So now let's review what we have so far. We have the kale that's massaged with the avocado. We have the slivered almonds. We have the dried cranberries, and we have the red onion. Now, the next thing, I'm going to peel this and I'm going to cut it because I don't want the pieces to be too big. You know, you don't want it to overwhelm the salad.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take this, and I don't even care if there's a little bit of pith in there. That's okay. The pith is this white stuff. If I can peel some of it off, I will. All right. And then I'm going to take these and cut them into pieces like that. Again, just, you know, you want them to be kind of bite-sized. You don't want it to overwhelm the salad. And this is such a nice flavor with it. I can't say enough about this. The flavor mixed with everything else. So now I'm going to put this in here. And then the last thing that I'm going to do, now this, you have a couple options here. Okay. And so this is one of my favorites, a glaze. There are a number of companies that make this balsamic glaze. But another thing that I can do, which I think is equally as good, would be to do some fresh lemon and some balsamic vinegar of your choice. This one is called Ruby Red Onion, and it's just balsamic. It's reduced balsamic vinegar. This one is 7-herb Italian balsamic. They're all good.
Right. Yeah.
It's one that's not good. So what I might do is I might do this, a little bit of this, and maybe, because they're both on the sweet side, maybe some lemon juice, fresh lemon, to kind of counteract the sweetness of these. The last few nights I've been a little on the LAZY side, so I've just done this, and that's it. So I would take this now. I'm going to eat this as soon as we're done. However, because I need a little afternoon pick-me-up. However, if I was not going to have it until dinner or till tomorrow, I would hold off on this and wait. This can be a last, a game time decision, what you want to put on it. So I'm just going to go like this. Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of the ruby red onion is so delicious. And I'm going to give it a shake, pour it over. And then I'm going to take a spoon and a spatula, just because that's what I happen to have on hand, and mix it all up. And, I might decide if I wanted to add a little more nutrition. I have this container of black cumin seeds, and it's black cumin seeds are great for everything. I'm going to just turn this over. It's actually battery operated, and just put a little bit of that in here. That's it. And mix it up again. And that is it. I mean, is that not gorgeous?
It is absolutely gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to give a taste. I'm going to give a taste.
I'd love to have a taste of that, Ellen.
Wait, it's got I want to get a taste with the kale and the orange and the cranberry. Let's see if I can see if I can fit this in my mouth. So good. And the kale, it's still a little chewy. I could have done maybe some more avocado. The orange, kind of bursts in your mouth. Then you have the sweetness of the cranberries and the crispness of the almonds. It's just heavenly.
Yeah. Yeah. Earlier on, you were talking about batch prepping food. And I know that's something that you are quite passionate about. You think it's a really important way to help people to eat more healthily. So can you tell us can you give us some tips on batch prepping?
Sure, absolutely. Batch prepping tips. When you get home from the market, instead of saying, I'm going to put this in the fridge and I'll get to it later, build that time into your shopping trip and make sure that when you get home, you take an extra 10, 15 minutes and cut your broccoli and put it into a container. Wash it, spin it, do whatever you need to do. or even don't wash it, whatever. Wash it when you need it, but it's better to wash it first. I have a whole bunch of these and I stack them in my refrigerator. Washing anything that can be washed and dried and stored ahead of time. Oftentimes I'll store it in one of those containers and I'll put this on top of it, or a piece of paper towel just to soak up any extra, moisture.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely doing that ahead of time is a game changer. Other tips, and I think maybe one of the biggest tips I would give is that to rejigger your thoughts about what a meal is. A meal can be a smorgasbord of things that you have in your refrigerator, right? You don't have to have a meal that normally would be put together and you go, oh, that's a lovely meal. This could be a lovely meal too, but it ends up being bits and pieces from your refrigerator. So I might, for example, have tofu that I've marinated and left in the refrigerator to cook, or maybe I've already cooked it, either in the air fryer or the oven. So I have that. I'll open my fridge and go, what components can I put together? So a lot of things that you can do that you might normally not go, wow, I never would have put those together as a meal. But you've got leftovers that can fit your plate almost as if you're at a buffet. But the buffet is your refrigerator.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Great. I think, changing your mindset is really important in this, isn't it? What would you say to people who go, I don't want to be miserable and deprive myself of all this lovely food like, ice cream, chocolate, salted peanuts, whatever.
Yeah. First of all, don't knock it until you try it. That's the first thing I would say. I think the world is really your playground when it comes to food choices. And being a vegan and a whole food plant-based, oil-free, and I'm also gluten-free as well, vegan has opened up my culinary horizons dramatically. I mean, every day I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I can choose from. I have so many options. So I think that once you realize that there are so many options and you open your mind and your eyes up to what the possibilities are, that can change. That can change. It takes time. This did not happen overnight, for heaven's sakes. No way. This was a multi-year process of trying to learn how to eat differently. When you spend the majority of your life, 6+ decades, eating one way, and then all of a sudden you're, for whatever reason, decide to try something different, it can be challenging. It can really blow your mind because, what do you mean I can't have that hamburger with the French fries? So to that, I would say, well, you can, except that we're going to make it a bean burger and it's going to look just like, because it's going to have beets in it. I put raw beets in my bean burgers and it's going to look like a hamburger and it's going to be delicious because I'm going to make it on the grill or I'm going to air fry it. And guess what? I'm going to make you French fries that are going to just knock your socks off. And they're not going to have a drop of oil on them. They're going to be seasoned perfectly. And you're going to look at me and say, oh my God, give me the recipe. Because you just have to learn. And it's like any new skill, you have to learn how to do it. You have to learn new techniques, new tips, new hints. And you have to give yourself grace too, because sometimes you'll make something that you're like, oh, this is not so good, but you try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do. So, and then, and to answer your question more thoroughly, I would say to people, if you, I feel like my belief is that maybe there are some people who are the exception to this rule, but I believe that chronic disease is like a tsunami and it's heading your way. Trust me, if you're watching this video, it's heading your way. Whatever it might be, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, you name it, it's heading your way. And if you think you're immune, I'm sorry to tell you, you're not, because it's years and years of making choices that are not health promoting. So why not take you see, I'm using all these bull by the horns. Why not take the kale by the stalk and try to prevent that from happening? And, or if it happens, maybe it won't be as dramatic for you because you took these steps to minimize your risks.
Yeah.
So I just tell people, it's heading your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. It makes me very sad when I see that people feel that these things just happen to them rather than that if they make the right lifestyle choices, these things are very much less likely to happen to them.
Right. And,
Yeah,
our medical system is set up to treat disease instead
yeah,
of prevent
yeah, yeah,
disease.
yeah,
And that I think is a real crucial thing to wrap your brain around, right? The doctors are there to treat your symptoms instead of helping you prevent them.
yeah.
Go read Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn and watch videos about his patients who have literally reversed their heart disease. If you're there, it's not it's not the end of the world. You can reverse your disease in some cases. And again, I'm not a doctor, but I just have seen it time and time again
Yeah.
that people change the trajectory of their health by making choices. And what I tell people is what you put on your spoon or your fork is in very many cases going to dictate your journey to or from health.
Yeah. 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 Now, you're very keen. You're a keen cook. You're a talented cook. So, have you written any cookbooks?
I actually have written my very first ebook,
Right.
and it's called 20 Delicious Morning Oatmeal Recipes. It's called Rise and Shine, which is something I feel very special about. My father, may he rest in peace, used to say that to me all the time when he would wake me up for school. So Rise and Shine, 20 Delicious Morning Oatmeal Recipes. And they came out of my desire to incorporate as many oat-based meals, breakfasts into my life, based again on the work of Dr. Esselstyn and the importance of oats and how they can help to make sure that your arteries stay nice and clear so that you have a nice highway that the blood can run through.
And you're on Instagram, I think?
I am unavoidable. I- I'm on Instagram as Ellen's Healthy Kitchen.
Uh,
So that's my name on Facebook. I have a group, a private group, if you want to join it. It's Ellen's Healthy Kitchen
yeah,
Facebook.
and I'll have the link in the video description as well. Yeah,
And I have a website too that's being built for me as we speak.
right. Okay. That's absolutely great. Can you just why are you gluten-free? I mean, you've mentioned that several times, but you haven't said why. So can you just explain about that?
Sure, I have celiac disease. I was diagnosed with it in November of 2005. And the reason it happened was earlier that year, starting in March, my hairdresser told me that something was going on with my hair and that I was losing some of it more than was usual and that I should get it checked. So I went to a few different dermatologists and eventually was diagnosed with alopecia. Alopecia is an autoimmune disease that impacts the hair follicles in your body, and it could be your scalp, it could be your eyebrows, it could be your personal hair, it could be hair on your arms. And so I said to him, "And now what?" I mean, I didn't fancy wearing wigs my whole life, unless I, of course, had to.
Yeah.
No, if you have to wear a wig, I totally support you. I didn't want to go there if I didn't have to, and so he said, well, I can give you multiple shots of cortisone in your scalp and it might work. Your hair might grow back, but it also might fall out again after the shots of cortisone.
Yeah.
And I said, well, let me think about that, which was really my way of saying no, thank you. So I went home and it took me 6 months. I read and researched and YouTubed. And I finally read a book called Dangerous Grains by Dr. Ron Hogan. And in that book, he asserts that all autoimmune diseases can be traced back to gluten. Now, whether you believe it, whether your internist believes it or not, doesn't matter, because for me, that was all I needed to read. Plus, my sister had celiac, and I didn't even know it was called celiac at the time. I called her up. She lived 1,500 miles away from me, and I said, don't you have something like to do with gluten-free or something? Because she never talked about it to me. And she said, yeah, I have celiac disease. And I said, oh, well, I looked it up, and guess what? It's genetic. And if it's in your family bloodline, any of your family members can have it. So I called up my internist, and at the time, this was in 2005, and you have to remember that then gluten-free, we're talking almost 20 years ago,
Yeah.
was not what it is today. It was not on the lips of much of anybody. And, but she was progressive. And I said to her, My sister has celiac disease, and it turns out I have alopecia, which is autoimmune. Would you be able to order the celiac blood panel for me?" And she said, sure, she would do it. So she did, and that was it. She said, "You have celiac disease." I didn't really have any stomach issues that I knew of. But the thing is that the stomach issues I did have were my normal. Doesn't everybody get a stomach ache when they eat bagels? Doesn't everybody get a stomach ache when they eat pancakes? Doesn't everybody get a stomach ache when they eat whole wheat bread? Well, turns out I had celiac. And so I went gluten-free. And over the course of about 2 years, I took progress pictures. 80% of my hair grew back. It wasn't all over my head. It was in spots, but 80% back. And then it stopped returning. I still have a little bit back here, a little bit just behind my ear. That's not, but as long as it doesn't get any worse, I'm okay. And that was it. So I have celiac, and I would say to you that that's my lot in life, but it's like a non-issue. It's so easy to be gluten-free.
Yeah, you're such a testimonial for the power of eating healthily and eating the right things and eating delicious food, but
Yeah.
food that really feeds you.
That's my job. I feel very blessed to have this chance to live on Earth for this little blip of time, and I want to take advantage of it
Yeah.
as much as I can. I want to try to be healthy. I have 6 grandchildren. I have a loving husband, and I want to try to maximize my time here on Earth. I exercise a lot like you.
Mhm.
I'm at the gym, 4 or 5 times a week. And I walk. I try to walk either on the treadmill at the gym, or here it's very cold, but I'll put on, warm clothes, and I'll go out walking here. And my job, I feel like it's everyone's job, is to take care of this vessel that we're inhabiting.
And you do one-to-one with clients, do you, to help them eat more healthily?
I do, and I do it primarily by Zoom.
Mhm.
And I'm a passionate, loving coach, but I also give um, I give lots of homework, and I also don't let anybody get away with anything. Maybe a little bit. I really try to get people to be honest and to uncover where their blocks are, and then together we find out what we can do as a team, because I feel like it's a team approach.
Yeah.
What we can do to help them find a delicious, healthy way to live.
Thank you so much. I've really loved talking to you. It's been really interesting, really fascinating to hear about all your journey in eating healthily and also the recipe for that amazing kale salad. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate the friendship, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my passion. And I'm really grateful that you gave me the privilege of your time to do this.